Hello and welcome to the Book by Book, a podcast about the odd book or two we've read. I'm your host Scott and I'm not alone, Toby's here too. This episode we're talking about Roadside Picnic by Boris and Arkady Strugatsky. It's going to be a fairly spoiler heavy episode, so if that's okay with you, continue on and I'll see you on the other side.
Very well, thanks, Scott. How are you?
Good.
Excellent.
It's a bit of a stringent beginning. I was just going to do one of our irreverent starts. But,
Oh, perfect. I love an irreverent start.
I guess what was it I'm watching? Z Nation.
Oh, yes. I've not seen it, but I know of it.
It's really fun, but I can't
Is
help
it?
but notice. It's been on my Netflix to what I think I added it to my watch list. So it's a thing where it keeps sending you adverts for it, and the thumbnail
Yeah.
keeps popping up.
It's quite old now, isn't it? Well, it's about 3 years old, 4 years old.
And more than that, I imagine. But
Mhm.
I can't help but notice they've trailed an actor who is not in the show. It sort of remember Executive Decision, and it trailed Steven Seagal, and then it sort of killed him off really early on. But in that case, it was like a cool surprise. Like, whoa, you didn't
Right,
do that.
yeah.
In this case, it feels like they've picked the most recognizable actor to plaster it. He's literally
Right.
cameoing episode 1 and he leaves, and I'm in like season 2 now. He's
This
not
is
coming
the
back.
guy from Lost, isn't it?
Yeah, he's not in the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, really?
It's the thumbnail, and he's in all the trailers
Yeah.
that I get. He's
Front
not
and
in-
centre, definitely, 100%.
He ain't
I
in
would
the
go
show.
into that show thinking he's going to be the lead in it. Right,
It's
okay.
it's stupid. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's,
it looks
it's
like
going for comedy, but it is fun in a certain way. It's
It
hard.
looks like the zombie equivalent to the Sun newspaper.
I guess obscure metaphor for me. I guess I was going to say it's more like, Buffy to Midnight Mass or something. That's what I was going to go for.
Right, okay, yeah, okay.
But you know what? It's more like the Adventures of Superman.
Yeah.
If that's, I'm sort of showing
Right.
my age more and more now.
Mhm.
But if you've watched Black Summer, it's hard to understand that those are linked shows. Totally,
Black Summer.
totally different. Black Summer is dark and gritty
Yeah.
and dialogueless. I really, really like Black Summer. They're doing something
Okay.
kind of unique. Like there's very little dialogue. It's just a survival show.
Right,
And they've
cool. I've not
chopped up-
seen that.
They've chopped up the continuity like crazy.
Mhm.
So it'll just literally open with, here's a 10-minute episode of a guy running, getting in a car, trying to help someone. That person dies. Run through a window. He survived. A zombie got him. The next episode
Right.
will be a completely different character. Kind of ties in.
Okay, that's cool. That's maybe one
Like that guy will knock
Summer.
on this next character's window and that person will drive off. It does round
Mhm.
out to like key characters,
Mm.
but there's no character progression because it's almost like 24,
Mm.
but set like the time zone is really tight.
Right.
So if
okay.
you were to edit it like Tarantino it's like you could watch it kind of live unfolding,
Yes.
which is their intention. It's
Yeah.
very dark and gritty. And then to watch Z Nation going, oh, so I think I like this because I watched Black Summer first.
Mm.
It's like, this isn't the same at all. Yeah.
But it's the same pandemic, epidemic
Yeah,
virus.
it's a spin-off.
Same world.
They refer
Right,
to
okay.
like, I survived Black Summer. Where were you?
Right, okay. Wow.
Yeah, if you like zombies, both worth checking out for two very different reasons, in my opinion.
Okay. It's interesting. Apocalyptic worlds.
I mean, we
Right,
haven't done
okay.
much sci-fi on this show, have we?
No.
I guess we did a Star Wars episode.
Yes,
we
we
did
did do
Lost
Star Wars. Yeah,
Stars.
yeah, we haven't done much sci-fi, no.
Well, that's about to change, apart from that Star Wars episode,
Dun, dun,
because
dun.
I've been reading Arkady and Boris Strugatsy's Roadside Picnic.
Roadside Picnic. Okay.
If you're into your sci-fi, you'll know that this is like an absolute legend of a classic. It kind of feels like it's the Frankenstein-ish. Okay, maybe not that powerful, but it's a very, very popular. If you go to like the top sci-fi novels ever, it's probably floating around. I'd say the top 20.
Really? Okay.
Mhm.
Roadside Picnic. How big is it? Is it a
Not
dense novel?
too big, under 200 pages.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it packs a punch with under 200 pages. I've been excited to read this for a long time. I go to a lot of my favorite book vloggers, and I really like
Yeah.
when they just list stuff. There's one I really like. People send him books and he just literally holds it up to the camera and goes, someone sent me this. What a beautiful cover. I haven't read this one. And he basically talks about the same thing. But so it's just one of those books that's like people love to talk about. So I've been dying to get into it, and knowing it's a short one, I was like, that's good. Sometimes the sci-fis can be very dense, and I've heard it's not hard sci-fi. It's very man on the ground. Written in the late 70s Russia.
Yeah, okay.
If you're a cine fanatic, you've probably heard of Stalker.
I hadn't, but I have now.
Did you recognize any of the imagery?
No.
Some sort of BFI best foreign films ever list?
No. So for those that, well, for everybody that doesn't know, which is everybody but us two, Scott asked me at the beginning of this week to watch Stalker on YouTube, which I did straight away in 3 parts. It's a 2-hour, 44-minute long film shot.
Feels like 4 hours.
Shot in Russia in 1979, no, 74. And yes, it's clearly based on the Picnic book that you're talking about.
You like long, slow shots that don't cut and not much happens in them.
Yeah.
Because this is a film for you.
Yeah. If you're looking for something to help you go to sleep at night,
this is the film for you.
So having watched the film in 3 parts across the period of a week, there is very little dialogue, and I just wondered how that was going to translate into a novel, knowing that you'd read this novel, and I didn't have any idea how many pages it was or anything like that. I did no research before going into watching it. I just stuck it on and started watching it.
Joke's on you.
Yeah, apparently so. And so it's quite interesting to hear how there's only a 200-page short novel, which kind of lends itself to a short film, not a 3-hour, 2-hour, 44-minute horror
think piece, art house. This belongs
literally
in an art gallery.
It's beautiful to look at.
Yeah. Dive into the film. Let me talk a bit about the book first, because this was going to surprise you. That film is only the last chapter of the book, about 50 pages.
Wow.
Pretty much.
Wow, explains a lot.
So let me quickly talk about the concept, which is great. It's one of those books I think I'm going to love to talk more about and hear other people's opinions. Kinder than it was to read. Like Canticle for Leibowitz.
Yes.
You Google any book reviewer's thoughts, they probably love it.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 people love that book because of what it represents. And I think it's one of those books that I love talking about more than I like reading. The conversation about that is more interesting.
We're trying to keep a track of.
13 years ago, aliens just visited Earth.
Holy crap.
And
There's
left.
aliens in this. What?
Nope.
Infinitely.
There is no aliens in it. So there's about 7 or 8 sites globally that have just experienced something, and now they are set up like, don't go in there. That is a zone where aliens landed. Did anyone see them? The book doesn't really go into that. But what's clear is that they have left. Here's a passage that sort of sums up. Oh no, prepared. And also the great analogy of the title, which I think is a great title, Roadside Picnic, when it comes up in the book. A picnic. Picture a forest, a country road, a meadow. Cars drive off the country road into the meadow. A group of young people get out carrying bottles, baskets of food, transistor radios and cameras. They light fires, pitch tents, turn on the music. In the morning, they leave. The animals, birds, and insects that watched in horror through the long night creep out from their hiding places. And what do they see? Old spark plugs and old filters strewn around, rags, burnt out bulbs, and a monkey wrench left behind. And of course, the usual mess. Apple cores, candy wrappers, charred remains of the campfire, cans, bottles, somebody's handkerchief, somebody's pen knife, torn newspapers, coins, faded flowers picked in other meadows. That's kind of like what the roadside picnic metaphor is. We are the ants. The aliens probably, it's highly suggested by like the scientists of this world. They probably didn't even know we were here. They didn't even second glance us. They just came for a pit stop, flew off, And so there's just these zones that are no-go zones because they are now deadly. And it just has bits of alien tech floating around that we have no comprehension of what they are, what they could be used for.
Mm-hmm.
And a stalker, the name of the film, is basically someone who illicitly sneaks in and gets an understanding of this world and just smuggles out these random objects and puts them out on
Right.
the black market. Sometimes they just take people in as tourists who just want to see for themselves, but it's highly illicit. It's implied there's not crazy amounts of research. There's sort of sanctions on researching because it's like we could end the world messing with this stuff. And let's face it,
Mm.
everyone's going to want to try and weaponize these things. So please don't do that. There's
Mm.
talk about one of the governments snuck out what is called the hell slime from these canisters, and they messed with it, and 13 people died, and the whole laboratory itself is now a mini zone where the hell slime just expanded, took over a lab, destroyed it, and now it's like there's just a lab somewhere with that's cordoned off. Don't go in, you'll probably die. It's dangerous stuff we have no concept of.
Brilliant.
And that's sort of the concept of this book
Yeah.
about this guy who just sneaks in and out for various reasons. For his purposes, mostly money, but we
Mm-hmm.
kind of find out later it's kind of obsession.
Right.
And so I was like, that's a great concept.
That is a great concept. I bloody love the idea of that. That's a stunning sounding book.
We don't get any solid explanation of. There's no visuals of what the aliens are, just
Mm-hmm.
the effects of what something could do to a bit to the world, but mostly just the surrounding village, the obsession it
Mm.
takes on, the slump it puts the world in,
Mm-hmm.
and just how dangerous these zones are.
Mm.
There's a really cool bit where he goes in with someone and they come into contact with a bit of the hell slime. He wakes up in the morning and it's basically eroded the bone from his legs, not the legs themselves. He's just lost the bones, just these floppy appendages, I believe. That's the
Oy, oy,
nicest thing about the
oy.
book for me, are just these tiny, almost just paragraph vignettes of that is just eerie, don't go there. And a
Yeah.
stalker, their expertise is basically feeling out the place and just getting a sense of, don't go that way. That looks flipping
Mm.
dangerous. Like there's a tire at one point, and he's like, look closely. The shadow is coming the opposite way from the sun
Mm.
and everything else. I don't know why. I don't know what that is. All we know is we're not going to go anywhere near that tire. Loop around it. There's just a little area where everything is just covered in these sort of silver cobwebs. All we know is don't touch those cobwebs. You can't contain it. See that helicopter crash there? Someone tried to scoop down. It went bad. You don't touch the cobwebs. And it's just a zone where it's not particularly like novelty. It's not like here's the chapter where this thing happens. You just get it strewn in and out.
Yeah.
And that for me was by far the funnest point. The character is named in the film. They're just called the Stalker, but it's Redrick Red.
Mm-hmm.
And for a 200-page novel short, it's set over about 8 to 10 years.
Oh,
So we
wow.
see the jadedness of this character come in and out.
Yeah.
You find that although there's no radiation of what we understand in the
Yeah.
zone, it does something to you. Any stalker who has
Mm.
had a child, it comes out as a mutant.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the book, he does have a child and it regresses into mutancy. I think it comes out like golden-eyed and a bit glowy, but it
Right.
comes to
Okay.
be
Well,
called Bunky, and it's sort of like I think it's like
monkey.
covered
Yeah.
covered in golden fur, and it stops sort of talking. I think there's passages. It's a hard book to read in that you don't know if the characters mean literally.
Yeah.
Like did this character literally regress and stop talking, or you meant if we were to say it, you think, oh yeah, Toby's kid has gone quiet.
Yeah.
Not no, they're mutated and they're not talking.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're
Wha-
surprisingly not in the zone that much. Only two of about four, maybe five, including an intro chapters, are in the zone.
Right.
There's a
Okay.
lot of talking in a bar. There's a lot of
Yeah.
Red getting drunk and I guess chased by the police because it's a highly illicit, illegal.
Yeah.
I guess the
I
moral
just.
implications of who are these people you're selling it to on the black market? They probably
Mm.
don't mean good for the world. You
Mm.
might be bringing about doom for the world. A lot of people talk
Wow.
about how much they love the character. I'm not saying he felt flat, but it wasn't the deepest character for me. Very much like in the film, there's a lot of that philosophical, deep talk
Mm.
about what it all means and what life is. What is it to have? What is a job? What is man without a job? That kind of
Yeah, 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 yeah.
theatrical talk
Yeah.
going on. It's not explicitly set in Russia. I felt that it was two Russians writing about America or North America, certainly.
Okay.
So the Russian lisp certainly comes in. There's certainly scenes in a bar. It's hard to know if that's just my knowing it was written by two Russians and when it was written.
Hmm.
I'm picturing that, but
Mm.
it certainly
Did you
feels.
read and watch the film concurrently?
I read about 85% of the book.
Right.
Then we were
Hmm.
running out of time, so I didn't know if we were going to call this week. So I watched the film in two parts. I watched the first hour of the book.
Yeah.
I watched the first half of the film.
Yeah.
Then I finished the book. Then I finished the
Yeah.
film. So it does get a bit blurry if you've seen that film.
Hmm.
I did get felt a bit rough this week. And watching that film when you're slightly
Yeah.
feverish does not lend in a good way to
No.
getting high and watching that film or taking mushrooms watching that film. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know, that's going to enhance anything.
No.
It already feels like you're feverish or high watching that film. You
Hmm.
don't need anything. Um, it's a very gritty novel, which was nice. It's
Right.
nice to
Okay.
read sci-fi that has that isn't the clinical science.
Yeah.
It's got a kind of punk feel to it, which was, I
Okay.
guess, a surprise. I
That
don't know
didn't come
why. I
across
guess
in the
that's
film.
no. I guess we'll get onto that.
Hmm.
But I guess I just have my aspersions of what most sci-fi I've read is and has been. So this was
Yeah.
kind of a breath of fresh air.
I suppose, yeah, in that sense, in the very literal sense of the word punk, opposite of to the norm, pushing
Mm,
against the establishments, then yes, it does lend itself to the literal saying meaning of the word punk. The film
mm.
does, yeah.
Like it wasn't about technology and science,
Yeah.
which is not all, of course, and especially in this day and age. But most of the sci-fi I read is tending to like sci-fi opera. So
Mm.
it's like great, like more Star Trek, I suppose, like
Hmm.
battleships that have a crew of 1,000.
Mm.
So things have to be in running order. You don't get that Star Wars feel of things about like, was it the Millennium Falcon was always breaking down?
Yeah.
It was a nice idea to like
Hmm.
shiny stuff that has to be like militant. Most sci-fi operas are kind of militant, I suppose.
Yes, completely agree.
So I don't know, a little gem of a book. There's definitely a few more of those that I want to read. If this
Hmm.
had been longer, I think it was just the perfect length. They certainly lead. I think this was another. I'm putting another reviewer's words in my mouth here. Um, it's like that they lead you to what they want to talk about, and you're not annoyed with it. You're not going, oh, go back to that thing. I want to
Mm.
know what the implications are on X, Y, and Z. But instead, you've led us here.
Hmm.
But they do a good job of just going. You just think, okay, well, this is interesting. I'm happy with them talking about
Mm.
this. I guess from what I knew
It's,
about it, I thought it was going to be more on an adventure.
yeah.
I was, I guess, because I knew about the film a bit. I thought it was going to be all set in the zone. I
Right.
didn't realize we were going to be in and out over 8 years.
Hmm. Going back to their musings and the writers leading you into snippets of conversational thoughts and then drifting away from that and going somewhere else and you being comfortable with that. Did any of it lead to any concrete answers, or was it all
No, 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 God, no.
drifting thoughts
It's like
left
the
open?
character's in its best hypothesis,
Mm.
but there are no official government answers to anything.
Right, okay.
Because you start hearing words about the golden orb
Mm.
somewhere deep in the zone and it grants wishes.
Yes.
And the last so Red, it starts off with him going into the zone for something and kind of coming out successful,
Right.
but his friend, his co-worker loses his legs,
Yeah.
and he finds out he's having a child, and he then there's a chapter where he's basically on the run outside of the zone and gets caught and does time, but he kind of sacrifices his freedom to provide for the kid.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I have a hidden object, sell it on the
Mm.
black market, give the money to my family.
Yeah.
Does time. Then there's a chapter with like one of the characters who's sort of risen to government official, but it's still like just using that to do shady stuff, like recruiting. And so Red now, 8 years later, is going back into the zone for one last job to find this golden orb for a lot of money.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's very
And
different. But you kind of feel like the film, sorry, takes up when he's just come out of jail
Mhm.
and he's made promises to his wife, and yet he goes in for
Right. Like, is it
one last
obsession?
job.
Does he need to?
Mm.
Personally, I don't feel the book does enough of a job of not just making him seem like a cool, shady type
Hmm.
for me to feel like I don't know, it just tells us he did this for his family. And it does show us this like ranty, in a turmoil, drunken, like, why would a man do this to his family? Like, what counts as care? If
Yeah.
you're, which we'll get to at the end, because that's definitely the last page hangs on like how do you know what good is almost.
Hmm.
But it didn't feel human enough for me, despite all this and despite what everyone
Right.
says. I would have liked. I don't know. He just came off to me as cool mercenary type with a bit of a conscience, but it's still
Mm.
doing it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, so I think we've done a good setup and general talk, but moving forward, listener be warned, we're going to start talking about the kind of end and the climax, and so we can safely say we're probably getting to spoiler territory right now. So listener beware and be warned on that. So when he goes in the last time, and there's more trial, I think traps they call them, trials and tribulations of just
Yeah.
cool little alien stuff that it just comes as quick as it goes. There's just a page where it's just raining embers and burning them, and they have to just duck down and take it. And then they just have to wait till it passes, and then their backs are all crispy burnt. Apart from the kid who got up and tried to run, and you had to wrestle him down. And it's like, what's that? I don't know, man. That's why we're stalkers. You have to navigate this world. There's a point I think at the beginning that he just has all these nuts and bolts, and
Yeah. I was going to about to ask that.
he's basically throwing them ahead. I think it's like he's trying to see if they just fall into anti-gravity, if they
Mm.
just zip left or they just drop dead in the middle. It's just
Hmm.
a way of no something weird's happening up there.
Mm.
So to get the orb, you basically have to sacrifice the human. You come to the meat mangler, great name, and
Mm.
he is there with the son of a previous co-worker who is just quite young and very idealistic. When
Hmm.
all the while, I think he secretly knows this kid's here to be sacrificed.
Right.
To make a wish, you have to sacrifice someone. The meat mangler is pretty brutal. They
Mm.
just get to the orb against all the odds, and the kid just gets up and he's whistling and he's like, he literally has like what is he shouting out? Happiness, free for everyone, and let no one be forgotten. This idealistic kid is running in to make the
Hmm.
wish of world peace, and the mangler gets him, just an invisible force. It's just like, 2 paragraphs max, less than half a page. He's just
Right.
picked up and wrung like a wet rag,
Oy.
blood, shoes, clothes flying everywhere, and just dropped. And this we're talking like in the last 3 or 4 pages here.
Wow.
And Red is like, damn, I mean, that's what he came here for. That's what the sacrifice is. Now I gotta go make a wish. I'm wishing for my kid to be well.
Bloody
But
hell.
you sort of find out like the book's philosophy ends on like the orb doesn't grant you your wish, it grants you your deepest desire. But he ends up just running in saying, like, I don't know what to wish for. I don't know what I want. I don't know what counts as a good or a bad wish. Maybe I should just wish the world ended. He just runs in shouting like, let the orb decide what my innermost wish is, because I don't know. I'm
Right.
tired. I
Okay.
think I hate this world. What is this? This is horrible. And his last words are echoing the kid, happiness free for everyone and let no one be forgotten, but also running in jaded and just like, I,
Mm.
I give up. And
Wow. So
that's
it's,
kind of
it's
how it ends.
definitely yeah.
Go, sorry.
So with the film, I got a sense that it was not knowing any of this about the book. My overriding thought, having watched it, and getting to the end was that this was a musings on the futility or not of religion, believing in
Yeah,
something
that's come up.
greater and bigger than is explainable, and just putting blind faith in it.
Mm,
And the stalker almost being like the equivalent to a preacher,
mm,
and trying to take people on a journey to show them why they believe and what they believe.
mm.
Um, but at the end of is it really giving him or them anything? Are they just believing in something so blindly that it's actually to the detriment of those and them around them and
Mm.
those around them?
I'm impressed, dude. I gotta be honest. I'm not sure I quite would have got as much as you did from it on any kind of level. Like just like going in like you did with no prior knowledge. I don't think I would have picked up on too much or got it on that kind of level. I'm impressed.
Wow.
But the film, like I believe they shot the film like one of the brothers wrote the
Mm,
screenplay. The
mm,
one passed away and one survived. So one of them wrote it. I believe like this is when Kodak was new to Russia.
mm-hmm,
So they shot a lot of the outside stuff and they
mm.
lost it. Like they didn't know how
Right.
to develop it, they lost it. And he had to go back and shoot a lot of this film again. And that's
Yes.
where
So,
he said he deviated. He's like, I can't make the same film twice.
mhm,
And so that's where a lot of deviation came. So it's believed that he meant that it was closer to the book
yeah.
initially, and then upon filming it again, he lost interest. I think
Hmm.
he widely wanted to give. I mean, this film cost multiple people their lives. You know, I don't know if you know the
Yeah,
story
yeah,
behind it.
yeah. So I know, my understanding, I did a bit of brief reading on it, is that they shot it with money from the government, Russian government.
Hmm.
Um, the Russian government then didn't like the connotations of what they'd shot and what he was saying, and then he had to go back in. He went back in by himself and reshot everything, well, large chunks of it,
Hmm.
again using his own money and his own friends and things like that, which is why it's got a much more. Well, it feels like a really gritty, cheap, but long shots. Everything's locked off, and
I
then
mean, I don't know
slow
if you know that
zooms
director.
in.
That is his style. I
Right.
don't know if you've
Okay.
seen the original Solaris. Like
Mm,
he is like, wow, this guy does not like editing.
mm. I also know that they threw themselves into some rather toxic environments,
They were
like
basically
radioactive
shooting on
environments.
location,
Yeah.
and they were just shooting in and around power plants that were just dumping
Hmm.
untreated
Yeah.
toxins into the water. I think the director, his wife, the cinematographer,
Yeah.
multiple people died of the same type of cancer. And it's just,
Hmm.
although not official, it's widely
Very
reputed.
veteran.
They just got
Mm,
sick from filming
mm,
this,
hmm.
which
You
made
can
the
like,
film. I knew that going in. And a lot of the times the actors are just like running in water,
yeah,
laying down
submerging
in
themselves.
giant puddles to have a nap. It was very
Yeah.
hard to watch knowing that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really like took
I
any
said I
joy out
didn't
of.
know that,
Hmm.
but it was still extremely, if it's, like they say arty, it was
Hmm.
extremely arty, but it felt real. Like the way that they were submerging themselves shoulder deep in what looked like absolute
Yeah,
cesspits.
that one made set. That was just
That
on
wasn't there. You
location.
could tell it wasn't a dressed set because of just the rawness of it on film. It didn't look
And
at all
they
like
were
it was
not, I
dressed.
think in the book they have sort of outfits to wear. And in
Hmm.
the book they're just dressed.
In
Like
the film, sorry,
that is
yeah.
a cotton fleece coat that is going to soak up water. That must have been a
Yeah.
nightmare. Oh God.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Cannot imagine having to have gone through something like that, but then
yeah,
done the
and then
research
getting like
afterwards.
and then having to go back a year later, like, yeah, we're
Hmm.
reshooting. Has the rash gone away, by the way? Get ready to get in the
Mm.
water.
Just
It's a
nasty.
very highly rated film, but
Mm.
it's I don't know what I would have got from it coming in blind like you, having not read the book.
Hmm.
It seems to fail to show any consequences. It's just a guy
Yeah.
telling you how dangerous it is. There's not any scene where it really shows that.
No,
I
it
think
was,
where
it
he
was,
missed
it
out
was
some tricks.
so, like, I think it works if you've read the book. It would
Hmm.
work better if you read the book. Coming into it completely blind, it made absolute no sense whatsoever.
Hmm.
It was gorgeous to look at.
Yes, beautifully shot. And when there
Every,
is tension scenes, it is great. When they sneak
Mhm.
in behind the train in the Jeep, God,
That
that
was
was real.
great.
Trying to
Yeah,
get the cars over the. I was like, oh God,
yeah,
that because I'm
yeah.
pretty sure those are the scenes that all feature in the trailer because it's like
hmm
right. Did you like that? Good, because we're going to
mm,
be in an hour
yeah.
walking in the countryside.
In the countryside, throwing a piece of cloth with a nut on the end of
Like
it.
it, yeah, that's it. It never once showed you. He never threw it and went, "Uh oh, can't go that way." It never
Yeah,
showed you anything
that's exactly what
happening.
was frustrating. It's
Mm,
like, why are you throwing this? I don't get. And then the guy goes off by himself, and walks up to the house, and then there's this voice that just suddenly says
yeah,
something to him.
spooked out, huh?
He
But
turns
just that,
around
I
and
guess
comes
that's the
back, and you're like,
skill
what?
of the stalker is you got to read. You got to read
Yeah.
the environment.
But I just
So,
don't
so
know why he was reading it, what he was reading, how he understood the environment. I didn't know
mm,
anything about anything going through the whole 2 hours and 40 minutes. And then they get to the end and the room,
well,
spoiler alert,
see,
it's a radical. Ah, no,
well,
you're
he was
right.
supposed to die in the Mangala.
Yeah,
He sent him forward. I mean, that's something that
yeah.
would be hard for me. The whole film, he's like, writer, you go first. Professor,
hmm
you go first. I'm like, you go first. We'll follow. You're the
All right,
guy.
lad.
I don't know about
Yeah.
this. I guess it got them used to it. So in the end, they come to the meat mangler, a very
Mm.
dank, dark sewer.
So, yeah, yeah,
And he's
basically, yeah.
like, yo, you got to go first. And when the stalker looks petrified and he's telling you to go first, it's like,
hmm
can I get my money back? I don't know.
Mm.
So he was supposed to die. It was like an anomaly that he didn't die. He was the sacrifice because we find
Right.
out that the previous guy, his brother died.
Yes.
And here's where more not
Porcupine.
concrete but philosophy comes that his brother died in the Mangala. He went through, he probably wished for his brother to come back alive,
hmm
but in his heart of hearts, he just wanted money.
Mm.
So he got money and then he committed suicide within a month because he was just like, basically, my brother died for this money, which is
Yeah.
where they basically all three of the characters survive in the film and none of them go in to make a wish because
hmm
how can you know what your heart's desire is and how can you
Mm.
trust it?
Mm.
Like there's just a dark selfishness in man, I guess,
hmm
that we shouldn't trust. Well, I guess for one of the characters, I guess the stalker never had any intention of going in, and one of them
No.
was there to sort of destroy it, but had a change of
Yeah.
heart. I guess he came the other
Yeah.
way, like no one's real desire will be for destruction,
hmm
so we don't have to destroy it. I just got spaced out. Everyone's spaced out. I don't
Yeah.
know. And then when you think the film could end, we'll clip on. Let's let him go
Yeah.
home and chat to the wife. That was like, oh
Possibly the
no.
most interesting part of the whole film with the daughter right at the end moving the cup with
Mm,
telekinesis.
right. I guess she was mutant
Again,
all
but they
along, right?
don't allude to any of that whatsoever
Mm.
during the film. It's not that I noticed
I
anyway.
guess like in this, you're not sure what's a throwaway line or not what you're
Mm.
meant to take that in solidly.
Mm.
There's an implication, I believe, that some of the characters aren't real and that it's like it's not a real person. It's just who that stalker wish it's that stalker's wish who they wish their children was.
Yeah.
Do you mean like they're projecting on their kids, or they literally went in, found the orb, and wished to have children, and
Yeah.
that's manifested? It's
Yeah.
unclear. It's filled with throwaway line. What feels like a throwaway
hmm
line that actually might be the key to everything. And I think that's what
Mm.
people love about these writers are. I think it's
Mm.
that sort of writing is strewn within all their books of like you kind of got to pay attention and read between the lines, and even then it's speculation.
Mm.
I guess
I
another
really
cool thing.
enjoyed sorry, I really enjoyed the sound design in this as well.
Yeah,
Oh my
I
God,
was
the
thinking
sound
that.
was great. It was so
It's
front and center, so loud and clear and naturalistic.
it's something you could put on, maybe not entertaining
Is it
friends, but
diegetic sound?
put on a mute and put on the soundtrack whilst you're having a party in like a
Mm,
chill
mm,
out room. I
yeah.
guess it's not an upper happy film.
No, it's
Um,
haunting,
mm,
the sound, just the scrunching and the water
mm.
dripping and the wind and oh,
Yeah, definitely a good point. That's a really standout part of it. But I think also, sort of apart from the sound design, there's like a shot design, like the feel of it. This uh, I guess people sort of say like it's sort of not inspired Chernobyl, but no, that doesn't sound right at all, does it? Inspired Chernobyl, but this visual look predates the events of Chernobyl, and that's sort of gone on to create its own distinct look that other films, games developed and stuff sort of use as a design motif. Chernobyl
Is it?
happened way after this, and it was like, yeah,
Okay.
you can sneak. I don't know if it's sneaking in, but for a long time
Yeah.
there were stalkers. I
Hmm.
believe they introduced the English word of stalker that is now commonplace in Russia from this book,
Oh, wow. Okay.
which is kind of cool.
Yes.
Obviously, it's like a Soviet Union book and movie, so like you said, there you had to like send stuff off to get government approved, I guess. Like
Mm.
we don't like this theme, knock that off.
Hmm.
But there's a really nice afterward where he's like, on the scale of it, this there's no exciting story behind writing this. Me and my brother plotted it out. We wrote it again. You send it off for like agreements. It comes back, a few changes we weren't too upset about.
Yeah.
Just sort of happy with it. There's a game. You said you've played it. It's an old game, Stalker, but with
Yes.
dots in it.
Yes.
I think it's one of those texts like John Carter of Mars, where without realizing, you will see this
Mm.
influence throughout sci-fi writers.
Hmm.
Certainly the setting thing. Like I said, this
Mm.
predates Chernobyl. So it's
Mm.
be easy to see something and say, oh, they've clearly used Chernobyl, like a just empty alien sort of
Yeah.
grounds. Uh,
Toxic
very
wasteland.
cool book.
Mm.
Not necessarily 100% satisfying if you're looking for like a sci-fi adventure.
Yeah.
But again, due to its length, it's I dig it.
Hmm.
I've got some
Nice.
notes. I guess one thing I really enjoyed, especially maybe not when it came out, but certainly reading this now, it's like they've taken like a cosmic horror
Hmm.
and they put it in like a cool sci-fi world. And I guess that's definitely a part of this of like the themes of like mankind just has to understand. We have to whatever it is going on, whether it's religion or not, there has to be a reason for and behind, whether a science or
Hmm.
some explanation, whether it's a god or eons, like or Thor creating
Hmm.
the god of thunder is angry. That's why he's raining and hammering.
Hmm.
So, so what happens in the world where the inexplainable has happened? And it's not
Mm.
like, oh, someone saw a ghost. That person has to make of it, but it's plopped for all the world to see.
Hmm.
Some kind of alien came. Like there's people say like, did they even land? Did they just dump stuff from the ship? Was it just a toilet? You know,
Yeah.
um, how do you make sense of the inexplainable? And what does it do to society? Which is really cool. I think if you enjoyed this and you sort of love the themes, I guess it made me think of Annihilation by Jeff Vanden.
Right. Yeah.
Very similar themes, almost exactly. I think in that one, a meteor
Yes.
hits and it creates. I think even think it's called the zone or
Hmm.
Area X, of course.
Yeah.
And you just go in and it's inexplicable and like um, the physics as we understand them are just broken.
Hmm.
A
Mm.
being that lives and understands via physics, what does that do to you?
Yeah.
Um, and Lovecraft's The Color Out of Space again, like a
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
Like
I
again, I
was going
think
to
a
say that.
meteor just lands and it just
Hmm.
inexplicable stuff, like very Lovecraftian. Is like to look upon is to go mad because your tiny little human brain can't
Can't
understand
comprehend.
a
Yeah.
being from another dimension.
Yeah.
Um, mm, yeah. So where are you on the film then? Just like it feels like I'm not to put words in your mouth. It's come down of glad I watched it. It is beautiful. It's pretty
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah. That's exactly it. It's a meandering wander through nothingness that looks
Mm,
beautiful.
definitely has that. I don't know if
Mm.
you've ever heard of Solarius.
Yes, they remade it with George Clooney.
Right. But this same director did that film.
Right.
So if you
No,
are
I've
gonna,
never
if
seen
someone
it.
says you want to watch the original, just be prepared for this. That is definitely his style. This film,
Right.
long takes, um, little cuts.
Mm. Mm.
That's
I mean,
sort of.
it really was beautiful to look at, and you could like the aged film. I
Mm,
want to say look, but it is actually aged film. You know,
yeah.
some scenes
And
would
this is probably a
change frame
restored
to
version.
frame. Yeah, yeah, you
I
get
don't know
color
if that
bleeds and things like that happening, and
the coloring jumps. I guess I thought it was purposeful, like when they're in the zone, the
mm,
color pops. But I sort of
mm,
wonder if it was just, as I was saying, they messed up so much of the film because it was new to them.
hmm,
I don't know if some of those color things are a flaw that
yeah,
they couldn't
yeah,
reshoot, like when
byproduct
it's all
of
yellowing.
bad processing and
Mm.
Yeah, no, just beautiful to look at. Like,
Shame it's boring as hell.
where do you find it boring to film?
It Yeah, kinda, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
Like, it
yeah,
doesn't mean I can't appreciate it for what it is. I think you've said before, like, you're not a fan of the Godfather films,
mm,
but that thing of like, but it's still interesting to see a breakdown scenario about why people love it. The scene
yeah,
where he has the hit on the guy's head and he goes to the toilet to get the gun,
hmm
like the breakdown of like why this is masterful, the tension of the
hmm
train coming down, and like now it's like, yeah, obviously, but when something's done and it's like, yeah, but this is the first of its kind. This set that
yeah.
precedent of masterful filmmaking and taking to
There's a
these things.
benchmark.
hmm I
Mm.
guess, like I said, like although I did enjoy reading this actual book, the conversation around it is just as fun.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's
I have
what
to.
I was looking forward to most, finishing the film and then going and reading what the hell I'd just seen and what everybody else thought, and then what you
Mm.
thought.
Because it's seen as a
Um,
masterpiece. The critics' review is
yeah.
probably 100%.
hmm
I guess we dropped on that a little bit when we did Crime and Punishment of like who are the arbitrators
Yeah.
of the list, and it's like, well, that's critical, so it's not the Rotten Tomatoes audience reaction, especially in the modern today's thing. If you were going to
Yeah.
force everyone on Rotten Tomatoes to watch it, it would probably take a massive dive because it's just hard art house
Yeah.
1970s Russian cinema.
hmm Definitely of its time.
Yeah, but yeah, what a grim and beautiful, gritty time, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From is it Battleship Potemkin?
Mm.
There's a lot of that came to the fore when I was watching that. And it brought me back to my
Early film media,
university
being a
days.
media
Yeah,
student.
this media studies.
A train pulls
Um,
in the station.
yeah, and the Lumieres,
Yeah.
all of that. It was, yeah, it was interesting in that, but I 100% would not be revisiting or watching it 4 or 5 times like some reviewer that I was reading has done. It's one of his favorite films. I was just like, how? Have you
I
not seen
mean,
Die Hard?
Die Hard versus Stalker, the analytical breakdown. I mean, I really got into the movie Mandy, and I watched that
Yeah,
a bunch of times in a short run.
that's
And I
the
imagine
Nicolas
people
Cage
would
one.
kind of feel the same, even though it is a shorter runtime, and that does have modern ideas of action
Mm,
and climax, but still is very psychedelic.
mm,
But I can imagine people finding out I watched that 3 or 4 times in 1 month would be like, "Wow, why, how,
mm,
what,
mm.
what?" So I can't see myself watching Stalker anytime soon. But it's
No.
a film that's okay. It's only really been 2 days, but I can imagine I'll still be mulling over it. This whole
Mm,
Roadside Picnic experience for like a week or two. I actually have a book group last night, which is why what propelled this is they normally pick a book, but this week because of post Christmas, they've said everyone just bring your own sci-fi book and everyone will individually talk about stuff.
no, wicked.
And I just thought, okay, there's a short one. It's been on my list for ages. There was a time when this book was hard to get. I don't really know
Right.
why, if it's literally a publishing thing or an anti-Russian sanction. That doesn't sound right.
hmm
Probably just a publishing issue that
Yeah.
it's not hard to find, but it just wasn't common at the same time, like mildly
hmm
rare. Like I was looking for this for ages that didn't cost a fortune. And I was lucky enough to find this in like I've said before, in Canada, they have free libraries
Yeah.
just all along suburban streets. There'll just be like a little birdhouse with a door just stuffed with books.
Right. Cool.
So I'm going to pay it forward. I think if anyone in the group wants it tonight, I will.
hmm
Um, yeah,
How
there's
long is your
one.
book club? How long does this? What happens in this? Do you just a group of people sit around talking about the books that they've read, or?
I mean, normally they pick a book and you read it.
Yeah.
But because it was over Christmas and New Year's, I think there wasn't enough
hmm
time to come up with one. So
Right.
this time, it was fun. I guess last time we did the Bone Marrow Thieves, which I didn't really enjoy. I was
hmm
basically like, oh, I can't be bothered to go. It's across town, and my partner was like, just go because do you ever do that? Like you sign up for something that sounds fun,
Yeah.
and for some reason within the hour before, you just can't be asked.
Yeah.
But then you do, and it was fun. I'm really glad I went.
So this will
Um,
be your second time of going.
yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Right.
They were really enjoyed the three body problem, and I think they're going to sign up for three body, the second part and the third part, which
hmm
I haven't read the first part, and then it puts me having to read 2 books in a month. So
hmm
depending on what they choose, I can't go every week.
That's just become a Netflix series, the Three Body
Yeah, it's on
Problem.
the edge of coming out. The concept is super exciting, so I really want to read book one in my own time.
Yeah, I might start that today, actually, the series.
Oh, it's out now? I thought it
I
was
believe so. In the UK,
coming
it is,
soon.
yeah.
Nice, yeah. I guess make some notes on season one. I don't know if it links up with the book, but it's definitely fairly high on my book. If
Yeah.
our libraries were hacked end of last year, and as a result, the system is still down. So you can't go in and order a book. You just have to, if it's there in this library, you can take it out. But they can't, like normally it's like they have the system. So yeah, we have 4 in other branches.
Yeah.
But there's literally no internet connection to the libraries in Toronto because of a hack.
Oh wow,
So
blimey.
you can't request any books.
Gosh,
so I am dying
that's
to read
terrible.
Three Body Problem, but it's my TBR is pretty big. What are we doing next? Have you started a new book? Are you just taking a break for a while?
I haven't started a new book yet. I'm kind of tempted to read a very short one called Jonathan Livingston's Seagull.
Nice. Yeah, my memories is that is like a parable.
Yeah, I've read it before when I was very young, but I'm tempted to go over that again.
Nice.
I have Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson to read.
Yeah, let me know if you do start that. I think I want to read that. I'm going to try and pick up a copy from Seconds if I can.
And obviously there's, but maybe we'll give King a break, but Billy Summers I still haven't picked that up and given that a proper
Are you
go
now at
yet.
the stage where you basically have to start? I don't know how far you got. Like you have to start again.
Yeah, I have to start again. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
to be seen.
Yeah,
it's you've been talking about Yumi and the Nightmare Painter for a while. I feel like if not next, the book after. Like,
yeah, it definitely feels like the book I should read next because just everything, I was finding it and coming across it and then picking it up and go, it's singing to me for some reason, so I'll go and read it.
Nice.
So that's the plan. Be good to read some Brandon Sanderson as well because he's prolific and highly
It was that
regarded.
time I wanted to read the entire Cosme in order, and I've only read one book. And now the really interesting stuff is the Stormlight Archives, which are 1,000-page books, but that's at the very end. So it's like I still have 7 500-page ones, and that thing of like, okay, why do you want to do that? Like suddenly this thing I really wanted to do feels like a tiring chore. It's like if you I'm really excited to read Stephen King's Dark Tower because it's only 4 books. Oh no, there's 8. Suddenly it's like I'm putting off starting because it's such an epic journey.
It'd be interesting going back to, you remember that what was it, Dan Danilowicz, the ones that you read, one of them.
Elantris?
Nope.
That's the Daniel Dewowski.
The House of Leaves. And then he did, what was the ones that I read 2 of, had full 5 of?
Oh, The Familiar.
The Familiar, that was it. Yeah, that was going to be a 27-book series, that was.
Yeah, I mean, I read we haven't talked about it because I think we reviewed it when only you'd read it. And I said, let's do the second one. So I had to read the first one. And it's dull and boring and nonsensical. So I'm really put off reading the second one. And don't think I haven't found your sneaky wordplay by going, the second one's, it's not as bad as the first one. But at no point is it, everyone is saying that. And at no point is anyone saying it's good. It's not as bad as terrible and drawn out, but brilliant, because that's the minimum. But no one's saying the words, it's good and fun read. I do still have my copy of number 2. I'm worried that we're going to get in there and it's a book you want to review more than me, and you're going to do the caveat where you go, yep, just put my hands in the air. I read this ages ago. So Scott, this is your episode.
You take the lead.
I don't even like it. I don't know what to make of this, Toby. And you going, I remember liking this one scene, XYZ, but that's me. It's all you. And then I have to basically crap on a book I didn't understand.
Remind me the bits that I like and enjoy, and then I'll give you the reasons why. I
do still have it. I guess if you're up for looking into that book, and
I'll do some, but we'll leave that for later in the year.
I just need to show. I sort of want to read it just to get it off my shelf space. It's a big book.
It's a beautiful book too.
But to have physically.
Yeah.
Is it a beautiful book to read?
Yeah, it's good.
Interesting. Are we giving away our thoughts on that one?
Yeah.
Maybe coming soon. I don't know. We're coming as quick as the next book in that series is coming. So maybe not at all. No, if it's something you're excited to do, I'm always happy Like, someone was asking me, like, why do you read so much? What happens if you read a book you don't like? And it's like, this podcast I'm literally excited to read books I hate because I can get an episode. Like, as long as we can talk about why, I'm happy to. I'm happy to read books that I find suck. Not to bag on them, but
just it gives you nice, good chat and
I guess a purpose,
thoughts and musings, and
I do have some Margaret Atwood coming our way. I've got about 100 pages left and I can't find it. And it was a bit dull.
Yeah,
a bit of a
I've not read
peek.
any of her stuff. Any of her stuff.
Nice.
Good. Yeah. Okay, cool.
The future of the show.
Yes.
Like and subscribe, listeners. Let us know your thoughts on Roadside Picnic.
Or the Stalker film.
Or the Stalker film, or the Stalker game.
Yeah. If you're one of our Korean listeners, because apparently we're quite big in Korea.
We had a spike here.
Yeah. Then holla. I don't know what Korean is in hello in Korean, but hello, and shout out, say hello. Be nice to hear from
someone. We're good. I think we've made peace with we are what we are.
Yeah, we are definitely.
If you're listening, you're just part of a small crack team. That makes it even more special.
Yeah.
All right, it's getting interesting.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, we're going to wrap it up around there. I want to thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. Join us again next episode, and until then, support your local bookstores and have a great day.